Hey, what's going on, guys? Enter ChazmaN here, and I'm back with a brand new video series for my channel. This is going to be Enter ChazmaN, and this is going to be my opportunity to kind of talk with my buddy Phoenix. What's going on, Phoenix?
Oh, not too much. Hi, Chaz Nation. Or we call them the Chazzy Coons now. Your
The
crew.
ChazZs, or you guys came up with Chazzy Coons. But yeah, this is kind of something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Naturally, I've always loved podcasting channels, and I kind of consume that kind of media pretty much daily. And it's something I've always wanted to get into, and I think it looks fun. And I don't know. Me and my buddy Phoenix kind of talk all the time with each other on these things. And so, Phoenix, what's up, man?
Oh, nothing. Just tired.
I feel ya. So, I mean, I feel like everyone that tunes into my channel probably knows plenty about me, but is there anything you wanted to kind of say about yourself, what your interests are, what you got going on?
Man, I don't know. I've been gaming forever, since I've been a little wee Phoenix. But I don't know. I love collecting games, playing games. Just, it's in my soul, man. It's in my soul.
All the normal stuff. Yeah, I mean, basically I've known Phoenix for a long time, and through him and another family member, I've kind of gotten into this whole gaming scene, collecting and playing. And I'd say maybe the Xbox 360 was like the gen where I felt like I kind of blossomed into a nerdy gamer. I feel like that's about the time for you as well. Although you expand out a little before that, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been gaming forever. I mean, original NES all the way through, but the 360 was like a shift in the gaming paradigm. I know for me too, like I was like college student right when 360 was getting big, so LAN parties and Xbox Live and all that stuff was huge. I was a big, Halo loser, so I don't know. Definitely kind of shifted my whole gaming attitude. I guess you become that hardcore gamer by that definition, but no, I've definitely eased off since then. Life has taken different routes, so I've had a little less time to game as much as I'd like to, but I still try to keep up with stuff, at least gaming news. So
well, I guess I should. This will be my opportunity to thank you for the first time in a while. I mean, Phoenix is probably the reason I got into modern. Like, I'd always played like Game Boy, older Nintendo based things, but I remember I bought off of you for what was it? Probably $150. I got the Xbox 360 Elite off of you that I think you had painted over.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I painted the whole console, but I spray painted the controller red.
I had that controller for the longest time too, and it worked.
360 controllers were tough, man. I know it got sticky after a while.
Oh, don't tell me that. but yeah, I probably used that controller for Gears 1 for a long time. I know we used to, that was our game. That was my kind of like, that game was kind of my entry into gaming. Back to the games that we got going on right now. We recently played Pokemon Legends Arceus, me and Phoenix, and he finished the game a little bit before me. And I felt like that was a fairly interesting place to kind of start off our little chit-chat. So I guess just overall, what were your kind of open feelings for the game?
So I tell you, I feel kind of bad because I know we started talking about this game back when what were we playing? Nobody Saves the World, which we need to finish, by the way.
That's right, yeah.
And I know I was being really hard in the game. I hadn't played it yet, so I was kind of just talking out my butt about the whole thing because I'll tell you, this game does not make a good first impression if you don't play it. Like, it looks, it's no secret, the game looks pretty bad. And unless you get a chance to experience the gameplay, at least on the offset, it doesn't seem like it has a whole lot of redeeming qualities to it. So I know I was giving a hard time, being like, oh, there's no excuse for having bad graphics, blah, 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 blah. And it's not that I don't feel that way anymore, but I tell you, once you play this game and actually give it a chance, it shocked me how much I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought at best I'd think of it like kind of a mediocre Pokemon franchise or entry. And I've been playing Pokemon since the original one, so... but I was really surprised just how much I actually enjoyed this. Like, even like past Pokemon games I played, let's say I played Sword and Shield and some of the more recent modern ones, Let's Go Pikachu. And like, they were fun, I suppose, but nothing really grabbed on, at least not as far as my interest was concerned. So this one really kind of hooked me in, and I mean, I'm still hooked on it. I'm deep in the post game now, just trying to fill out the Pokedex,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been having a blast with it. I mean, there's definitely issues with the game, but I have enjoyed it far more than I thought. So I feel bad for ragging on it the way I did. That should be
Mm-hmm.
a lesson to myself not to speak without playing a game. So
Well,
I apologize for anybody who heard that.
Well, an interesting thing for me that I found while playing the game is it kind of, I think I mentioned it in my streams, but for me personally, I feel like it fulfilled kind of the dream that people like me had back in the GameCube era when people were pushing so much for like this open world, like, a different direction for some of the Pokemon games to go. And
Hmm.
I think that's why you probably know, but I love the games Pokemon Coliseum and Gale of Darkness XD. I feel like were like the first Pokemon games to really try something new, and they added some new elements. And I feel like Pokemon Arceus, in a way, kind of feels like that dream realized. I feel like this game doesn't fully realize it, but it takes it in a direction that I had been hoping, and that other people had been hoping Pokemon would eventually go into. Do you kind of agree with that or no?
Oh yeah, I think stings about this whole thing is, I mean, that's very much true. Like, I mean, since I was 10 playing Pokemon Red, I wanted the open world Pokemon experience where you're going out, collecting, capturing. I think the problem is I feel like this is the game we should have had, man, 10, 15 years ago. Like, I feel like even some of that older hardware back then may couldn't have done it to this scale, but could have done something pretty similar. So I guess it's what kind of hurts about it. I'm glad it's going this direction, but I feel like it should have done it so long ago. Because if they would have done it back in, GameCube or Wii or heck, even Wii U era,
Mm-hmm.
then I think where we'd be now would be so much further. And I think we'd really have like some amazing revolutionary Pokemon game that I feel like Arceus could have been. It's that so close yet so far kind of feeling, which makes me really excited to play it, but also pretty disappointed at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, it kind of reminds me of the whole, like, another series or game that I really love is Pokemon Snap. And for the longest time, people like me had wanted that next gen, that next step. And then especially when when the Wii U generation came around, it was like, oh, look, handheld, this thing's perfect for a camera type thing.
Hmm.
And I guess in a way for me, the whole Arceus comparison to older Pokemon games is just, Pokemon Snap was something that I felt like could have been done well. And even to an extent, this new Pokemon Snap game, I feel like still to an extent really didn't even like live up to that dream. I feel like this game, as opposed to the other new Pokemon Snap game, does a much better job of kind of showing the direction, showing the way that I feel like I would like to see Pokemon go into.
Hmm. That's interesting. Because I really liked the new Pokemon Snap game. Maybe it's just because what my expectations were for that game and what I wanted out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't know. Don't think of anything else they really could have done in the new Pokemon Snap game that I don't know. I would have really been wanting beyond what they already did.
Yeah.
Now I do feel like, I mean, if we're talking about the directions of the game, just or like Pokemon mainline in general, I feel like some of what Pokemon Snap did well, I would like to see interjected into Arceus. Like, I know you'll probably mention it. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but probably one of the biggest downfalls or disappointing things about Arceus, in my opinion, is just the world building just feels really kind of flat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have Pokemon, all throughout it, but it's not that the Pokemon are living in the world; they're just kind of in the world.
Oh,
They don't interact
I
with
have
the
that in my notes.
yeah, but like, they're not like, living in a cave doing stuff or playing with each other, or like there's just no interaction with the environment. And I feel like that's something that, especially the new Pokemon Snap did really, really well. It's like you're going through taking pictures of these Pokemon in their environment, doing things in their environment that were interesting and unique, and there were secrets to what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd like to see that level of detail to a certain extent brought over into something like Arceus. And I know there's a scaling issue there to a certain point because that's a lot of fine detail, and doing it on the scale of what Arceus is trying to do might be somewhat tricky. But I feel like there's a balance in there that Arceus didn't quite meet. Like, the open world definitely felt like an afterthought. Like, they really
Mm-hmm.
focused on that core, okay, this is how you capture and, explore for new Pokemon. But they didn't really think about, okay, we have this big open world, let's make this part interesting. It just kind of threw a bunch of Pokemon in it and kind of left it at that.
Well, it's interesting
So,
you mentioned that because I feel like that very much connects with one of the questions I had for you leading into this conversation. But probably one of my favorite questions that I had drawn up was, is it incumbent for the Pokemon Company to release a product with building upon things that you had just talked about, but also adding things like voice acting, visually being more, being more appealing, easier on the eyes, being more, having better graphical fidelity, and then, like you said, adding all of those open world elements and really building upon it better, doing a little bit more. Do you think with the Pokemon Company having the highest revenue generating IP in the world, do you think it's incumbent on them to do better, to really go into that direction?
So, I mean, I guess generally I'd say yes, but if we're being specific, so you mentioned voice acting. Voice acting, I honestly kind of lean on a no. Like, I don't feel like that's a necessity. I think the thing is, like, voice acting is such a mixed bag. Like, whether it be in a high-profile AAA game or, something like a basic indie game. Like,
Well, good for
it
that
can
is
run the
that.
gambit.
No, I was just real quick. Good for that is the fact that it still makes sense a little bit for me because it is a Japanese title,
It's
and
an
for the most
anime.
part, most JRPGs and anime, a lot of that stuff still is still heavily subtitled, and still like I don't know. I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah.
No, no, that's fair. And like, I don't think that is a requirement. Like, don't get me wrong, if they could do some good voice acting, I think that could add to it. I don't think that's really a requirement for me. But at the same time, you think, this is a game that's based after a TV show. So, they definitely have resources to maybe pull voice actors from the show in there if you want to go that far. Not that, they follow the anime storyline very much, but I don't know. I just feel like voice acting can be a real mixed bag. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. They could kind of like split the difference and do something kind of like what Breath of the Wild did, where there's moments of voice acting and then there's, still text dialogue to kind of fill in
Mm-hmm.
places here and there. But like even in that game, which that's, an extremely high profile game, the voice acting was, kind of mixed. There was some good stuff, some not so good stuff. So I don't know. For that particular point, I'd say no, they're not really required or there's a necessity for them to do that. As far as the graphics, though, yeah, I feel like they could have done more.
I
And I mean, I'll be the first to sympathize with developers. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I understand the time crunches they're under, the shifting requirements from management. The pandemic, of course, I'm sure put a lot of pressure under them. So all of that, I know, I'm not trying to come down hard on, oh, these Pokemon developers were lazy and should have done better. I don't think that's the case. But you do have, as you were saying, a IP that is what the highest grossing or highest generating revenue stream in the world for entertainment. Like they've got money and resources to funnel into technology and high-end talent. Like the level that they put out for this kind of visual quality is just really subpar for something for something of their caliber, or
Well,
they should be of their caliber.
it also could be like an extremely what's the phrase? I mean, it could be an extremely double-edged sword situation where it's like, yeah, you have all this money, you have all of these things you can put into the game, but you also have such a rabid, diehard fan base that changing even like the most minute, smallest little aspect of it, it could send people into a frenzy. You know what I mean? So
Well, but when we're talking about graphical fidelity, what fan is going to be mad if they have a higher resolution or higher textured rock? Like, I don't think any fans are mad about
no,
that. So there's just
I
like
meant
a
more like
technical level they could have
I meant
put
more
more
like the
into.
voice acting and changing up game elements. I mean, yeah, obviously
Oh yeah,
everyone
and that I think is a different
visuals is
argument.
yeah.
Like if when we get to like gameplay, and we can talk about that in a few minutes, I definitely think that is a trickier water to navigate. But just from a pure graphical standpoint, they could do more. And part of that's just the art style. Like at least in Arceus, the art style is pretty underwhelming and I think kind of uninspired in parts. Like the world doesn't really have like any like landmarks to it. Like there's like one big tree in the first area that's your main landmark. There's like one temple and one other spot. Everything else is just bland nature. And I think that what bothers me about that is Pokemon clearly has a style. I mean, it's an anime with years and years, decades of animation style and
Mm-hmm.
motifs they can pull from. Or even just look at Pokemon Snap. That game has a lot of style. Like that looks like Pokemon,
Yes,
and none of that translated over here. I don't want to say none of that, but very little of
that
that.
game visually
And
is leaps and bounds better than, than this one.
yeah. And to be fair, completely different games. I said that's an on-rail kind of deal. So the way it deals with, loading in assets and character models and AI, very, very different. So the scale of what Arceus is doing definitely would have to pull back on that some. But, I mean, we've seen games on
Yeah.
the Switch look as good, if not far better, than what we've seen.
Well,
Arceus.
that
Like,
just I'll let you finish, but that leads into one of my other questions for Phoenix, since he's going to rush right into it. Was are the Switch's capabilities / architecture a fair scapegoat for the, I guess, lackluster nature of some of the graphical fidelity? So keep going.
I mean, so it's hard to say. I don't know all the technical aspects of it, and the Switch is by no means a powerful system by today's standards. But I mean, I know you mentioned it when you were doing your little quick summary after beating the main campaign. Breath of the Wild was a
I
launch
was just
title
going to
from
bring
like
that up when you. Yep.
2017,
Mm-hmm.
and at least just focusing on the world looked far better.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
to be fair, if we're thinking about it from like how many actual enemies and characters are on the map at any given point, Pokemon technically has a lot more things on the map. I mean, you've probably got several hundred Pokemon that are placed across a map at a given point with interactions and AI and spawn rates and all this other crazy stuff happening. So there's a lot of processing happening there. Breath of the Wild didn't have that. Like they would load in much smaller segments of enemies. You might have a handful to deal with at any given
Mm-hmm.
point. Um, so I mean, it's hard to gauge there. I don't know how they're doing their memory management or any of that, but I'll tell you, I feel like they could have optimized it more than they did to pull a little more something out of it. I know people like to also point to like Xenosaga or not. Yes, Xenosaga? No, I'm sorry. Xenoblade. Thinking of the wrong Xeno.
I know
Like
nothing
Xenoblade
about
on the Switch.
Xenoblade. Never played any of those games.
I haven't played them either. I've watched some gameplay of them, and they do look fantastic.
I'm
Now, I
sure.
don't know once again how they compare as far as like having a bunch of characters on the screen at the same time. That really does take a hit, man. It's a lot of processing power, but I don't know. Part of me feels like they could have done a little more here. It definitely feels like there was room for improvement that I think the Switch could have eked out a little more power from. Um, yeah, I don't know. They could have done a little more.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I guess another kind of like I've mentioned to you in the past, but like my favorite aspect of the game was the essentially the boss encounters. So I was just another interesting question I had for you is, do you feel like the addition of the alpha / noble Pokemon and the aspect of you calming these frenzied nobles with bombs, do you feel like that was a, I don't know. Was it to you? Was it a pleasant replacement for a lot of the gym leader battles and Elite Fours from previous Pokemon games? Because for me, I really enjoyed all of the boss encounters. I felt like they were very fast twitchy. I really liked the additions of you kind of dodging all of these attacks from these giant, mega-sized Pokemon, and needling your kind of bombs and stuff like that, and then kind of interspersing, weakening the Pokemon and battling them. I felt like was a neat way to kind of have some battling going on in there, as opposed to like, I don't know, the Elite Fours were normally simple. It was boom, fight, next room, boom, fight. You know what I mean? So, what did you think about those kind of replacing some of that stuff?
Yeah, so you and me are going to differ quite a bit here.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't hate those battles by any means, but I don't know. Once I figured out the first one and like realized that you don't even have to fight them with your Pokemon, you can just spam them with bombs.
Yeah,
It's really just
I do
dodge,
agree with
bomb,
that.
dodge,
Yeah.
bomb. Like they became really easy, really quick. I mean, the only one that I think was somewhat engaging was the Electrode battle. That one was kind of intense.
I felt
But
like
every
that one
other
was
battle,
easy. The,
really, that was
the
the one I struggled with the
Avalug,
most.
Avalug for me was maybe the most engaging one. I felt like, but that was me.
I liked that one, I guess, in comparison to some, but I thought that one was pretty straightforward. The final boss, I thought was the easiest. I did that one, I think, first shot.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Um,
I definitely agree with that.
I don't know, like they were neat, and I mean, I understand why they didn't have gym battles in there, so they needed some kind of replacement. I'm not saying that something like this should go away, but it's definitely to me not a replacement for those. Um, and I will say this though, because you still haven't played any of the post game, right?
No, literally the last stream I did was I captured, Dialga and Palkia, and literally it just said, okay, now your Pokemon adventure begins. And then I
Okay.
saved and cut away, pretty much.
So the next segment, like you definitely need to do, because
Hmm.
honestly, I feel like it's the real end of the story, and I think it
Okay.
kind of, honestly, is more climactic than even what the game ended as, and it felt more Elite Four-y, battle-y. I mean, not really, but it kind of had that high stakes moment to it, which I liked. I didn't really feel like I had that for any of the other battles with just the bombs and
What I
whatnot.
felt like what made the Elite Four, I don't know, going off on a little tangent, but I felt like what made the Elite Four super fun wasn't necessarily like how the mechanics of it, but it was just straight difficulty. Like that was what made those fun, is that it was like, boom, ridiculous battle, boom, ridiculous battle, boom, dragons. You know what I mean?
Well, it gave you a chance to really test your Pokemon
metal
skills.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, they were hard unless you really understood the mechanics of the game. You came with a good team that had the right move set and you knew how to counter them. Like, I think that's where a lot of people were really disappointed with Arceus, is the battling. Not only was there not much of it, but the battling that's on offer here is far lesser than older games. Like, it's not nearly as fleshed out. It's not really in any kind of competitive standing right now. Like, things are so underpowered. There's things missing. Like, I do miss that, and I feel like that's something that, I mean, although I understand why they didn't put a lot of focus on it in this game is very much about collecting the Pokemon and capturing them, less about battling them. That's still an important aspect, and I feel like they need to get that part of their community back and offer a boosted, battle system again, which honestly, that I'm not too worried about that. I definitely think that's something that's easy for them to pull back from. Just look back at their old games and kind of pull those features back in, and I think they can definitely beef up the battle system. Well, I appreciate they tried the agile strong thing. That was neat, but they can definitely, pull back some of the old competitive features.
Well, I think all of this stems from when they got rid of Professor Oak. They need to get Professor Oak back up in there, because...
Man, I did not like the professor in Arceus. I hated that stupid
he sucked. Him and his beanie and his mustache. He was not great. I do feel like... Is Pokemon the anime still happening? I'm sure that has to be.
Oh, it's still going. I don't know where they're at, but it's still chugging along.
All right, well, I guess I'll move on.
Wow, I want to see if there's anything else I want to mention. I made some notes about it, too.
Oh, let's go. Phoenix has got notes.
Well, I used to mail those questions, so I was going to try to answer them. Oh, so you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I kind of want to bring it up.
Whose show is this? Is this your show? I think it's my show.
It should be. Hey, I had to help you get OBS set up.
No one heard that. I'm going to bleep that out.
So you mentioned, or you asked me about, the those battles replacing the gym leaders, which, that's whatever. How did you feel about, like, the research levels kind of taking the place of badges?
I don't know. I mean, I've mentioned to you, I felt like for some reason, maybe it's because you were more adventurous than I, and you were actually going out and doing more things in between the story parts that were making you level gated. Like, I felt like I was hitting more of those level gates than maybe you were, because you said it wasn't a problem, but there was literally 1 or 2 streams I had where I had to go maybe an hour and a half worth of just kind of grinding out battles and kind of doing all that stuff. I don't know. I guess it's still pretty fun. I mean, for me, that kind of stuff still feels a little more tedious. Like, it's been a long time since I've actually played some of these Pokemon games, and actually, like, I'll finish all of the main stories and all that stuff, but for a lot of these games, the more modern, recent games, I feel like I kind of fall off the games once I kind of do all of that stuff. I feel like the last time I really went out and maybe completed a Pokedex might have been Ruby and Sapphire, so, like, that was when I was, like, super young. But sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess some of it was fun. I mean, I don't know. I think for me, what I appreciated is just kind of the speed at which all of that stuff happens. Like, it definitely felt like a step up. Like, the biggest step up I feel like this game introduced and adding to the Pokemon game gameplay is I loved how expedited and quick it is to get in and out of battles. Like, it's not just running in grass. Oh, Pokemon shows up. Cutscene. Long freaking battle. Cutscene away after you win or lose. You know what I mean? It's like, these battles feel so much expedited where it's just like, it really doesn't cut away. Like, it's all like pretty free-flowing and natural where it's like, oh, there's a Pokemon, camera shifts over, bam, you start throwing, battles. It's I don't know, I really appreciated how kind of just quick, and yeah, that's probably my favorite gameplay, like, improvement for the Pokemon games. It's so much so that, like, in the future, if other Pokemon games slow things back down, which it will, this game probably is more along the lines of like a Pokemon Snap, where it's like, this is a once in every 5 to 10 year game for the most part every year that we're going to get re-releases. Or although, how many more re-releases could there be? Haven't they already covered most of the games?
They'd have to get into pretty modern generations to re-release, but I don't know. I'm hoping because this is technically a mainline game, so we'll see. I'm hoping that the gameplay style really bleeds over. But to your point about the speed of it, I mean, I think that's really helped me not feel overly like tedious or tired for doing all the Pokedex
That definitely
completion stuff.
helps. Oh yeah, because
Yeah,
if it was as slow as the previous games, I probably would have dropped
yeah.
out.
See, I'm kind of in between. I personally, I really like the research levels. I don't know if I would say they should be like a gym badge replacement, but I don't know. It really incentivized me to go through and play with Pokemon that I never would play for, look for them in places I'd never look for them. Like I've been enjoying spending this extra time just checking off all these boxes. Maybe that's just my personality and what I like, and I can definitely understand how for some that would be tedious. So I don't think that should ever be something that is like overly level gating to anybody or be required by any means, but I'd like to see that stay in some fashion. Like gym badges should probably come back because I think at a core Pokemon there's a competitive aspect. I think those badges kind of feed into that, but maybe badges can start serving a different kind of role instead of just being like you have to have this badge to go here. Maybe like having the badge unlocks, I don't know, a special move. I don't know, which I guess kind of does anyway. I don't know, something else that incentivizes you getting the gym badges, different than incentivizing you
Well,
from getting research
because
levels.
didn't in
That
the
way both can kind of
original
coexist.
and the classic Pokemon games, the gym badges
They let
really.
you use HMs
I
and
was just
stuff
gonna
then.
say it helped you movement. It helped you getting around the levels and all that sort of stuff, which was smart. That was really smart back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of answers another one of my questions, which was talking about the overall game direction and what you want future Pokemon games to shape themselves as. And you already mentioned what we've already kind of talked about, what we'd like to be carried over. I guess I'll round things out. Or did you have any other questions or anything?
Um, I don't think anything in particular. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions you sent me.
There's only one major question that I kind of have for you. That's more of a fun one.
What about the side missions?
Oh yeah, that one I did. I did forget about that one. Um, Honestly, I feel like I didn't get. I didn't. Again, I feel like you did more adventuring than I did. I didn't do as
Mm.
many. There was one in particular on my last stream I actually really enjoyed, and that was this guy who had a sphere, and it would keep rolling down a hill,
Yeah, I remember that.
and you had to keep chasing this sphere, and eventually you would catch up to it or something.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean it was basic, but it was silly.
Yeah, and then as you're trying to get to this field, there's like all of these crazy. Oh, I forgot the name of the Pokemon. What were the red-eyed alpha?
Oh, the
There's like all
alphas,
these
yeah.
alphas in the way, and I don't know. I felt like that was kind of fun and just kind of feels kind of cute. It's cute.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean most of the side missions were nothing to write home about. There were a couple I thought were kind of interesting. Do you remember? Did you do the one where the Drifloon was like stealing the kid?
I did not. I didn't touch a lot of
Oh.
those things. I That's going to be something I probably do on the next stream.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting because one that's like part of the Pokedex is like kids would disappear because Drifloons would. I guess they weren't kidnapping them, but like they would hold on to the Drifloons and they just float away. It was kind of messed up. And
That's very
there's a
messed
whole
up.
side quest where this kid is like disappearing at night and they're not sure why. And
Oh,
like, oh, we saw him hanging out by the beach with the Drifloon. And then you go out to search for him, and the Drifloon's got his little tentacles wrapped around the kid. He's like, "Help!" It
yikes!
was kind of horrifying, but
That kind of
it,
reminds me of. I mean, you're more of a Zelda guy than I am. But what's that? There's always like that one demon creature that everyone thinks is evil in the towns,
hmm
but
yeah.
like it ends up being just kids just go to him because he's friendly.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. But it was kind of dark too, and there were a couple of mentions of kind of some dark stuff in this game. Like, it
Oh
wasn't a
yeah.
side mission, but what was it? They were talking about how the first survey team who went out to deal with Cleaver or whatever got like mauled or something. I'm like,
I remember
holy
seeing
crap.
hearing that. And there's also
Um,
like an aspect of like when you first start the game and you enter the town, it definitely feels like like a there's like a hint of like I don't want to say racism, but there's a hint of like
well, they're
um
afraid of like outsiders and stuff, and
yes,
they're
exactly. It's very like we don't trust you. You know who are you?
yeah,
You
they're all
know,
about their clans and stuff. Which
hmm
back then, I guess I don't know.
not quite
I'm not real.
racist, but it's
Yeah, I think that's the wrong term,
yeah,
but
it's
something like nationalist or something like
yes,
that.
yes, exactly. Maybe
But yeah, I mean,
sectionalist or like
yeah, I mean, this is still very much, a kid game with like overall tones, but there was some dark stuff in there. The post game stuff gets a little weird, so Definitely recommend it. So I don't know. I mean, I like the side quests well enough. There were nothing mind blowing, but there were fun, cute
There
ones.
was like a main, there was like a main side quest I didn't do. I remember Professor Laventon says something about go to the water and there's a Pokemon out there.
Oh
Something,
yeah.
some sort of major Pokemon. I went out there and I never saw it. I'm guessing
So
what there is there's a cave in front of the volcano. I'm guessing in that cave there's like a major Pokemon battle or something that happens there. But
kind of. So this one, it's interesting the way they did it. I had to look it up because basically you had to have played, was it Diamond or Shining Pearl?
oh,
I think the name of the mission is like the Legend of the Sea or something like that. And there's actually nothing in Arceus that tells you how to do that mission. But if
hmm,
you go to the library in Brilliant Diamond, there's a book called The Legend of the Sea, and it tells you to take 3 Pokemon to an archway and it unlocks a cave. So if you didn't know that from the other game, you couldn't figure it out in this game.
huh.
So you had to have like is it Overquill and I don't know the little Weasel. Oh, it was like 3 Pokemon you had to bring with you, and then it
Hmm.
opened up and you were able to get into a little cave that had a couple of mythic
I
Pokemon
mean
in
that
it.
would make sense because I know this game acts as like a time-based
Precursor.
precursor to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that's a neat idea to kind of pull from the other game. It's definitely one of those things that if you didn't know about that, though, you're going to be scratching your head. So I don't know if there's a way they could have kind of, alluded to that a little more. But I don't know. They definitely tried some interesting things with the side missions. So, I appreciated them.
Fair enough. I mean, like I said, I don't really answer too much of of the even question I made out for you, but because I didn't really get to play much. I mean, I kind of mainly jetted through a lot of the story. I did some side missions here or there, but for the most part, I may have done maybe 15 to 20 side missions when there's like 60, 70. I think there's a lot more than that actually.
Yeah, they get in the 90s, and I've done pretty much all of them. So I've really enjoyed this game. Like, I definitely have plenty of critiques, but I want to see the core of what this game is doing moving forward. Like,
Hmm.
fix the graphics, make the world feel more lived in, or, however they need to go about making the world more engaging. I think, too, they don't even have to have an open world. Like, not that they have an open world right now. I mean, I think the scope is nice, but they could pull it down if it would help them, pull some more performance out of the system. Like go like a Twilight Princess style game where you have like a big hub in the middle, like your Hyrule Field kind of thing.
Hmm.
That could be the big area, and there's a bunch of little branching areas that are smaller in scope but a lot more detailed, more interesting. So I don't know. I definitely there's a lot they could do with this game. I definitely wanted to see them take the core of this and move forward. I don't want to go back
That's
to the hidden wild
yeah.
battles and the grass anymore.
That's super interesting because what I think the game is missing is battle royale, microtransactions, and NFTs.
Oh yeah.
I just ticked off like all
Well,
of the
when
Pokemon fan
Ubisoft
base.
takes over the next Pokemon game, then we'll be good to go. I mean, we already got Mario Rabbids. Now we just need Pikachu Rabbids, and we're going that direction.
Yeah, I know most of the Pokemon fan base just dropped with heart attacks because of
All one of them that's watching the stream right
we'll
now.
only give you your first Pokemon. Every other Pokemon is $2.99. All
Oh
right,
my
so I
goodness.
guess my final question. I mean, I feel like shoot, I was planning these videos to be like 30 minutes, and we've spent 20 on Pokemon alone.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
Um,
had a lot to say about
no,
Pokemon.
I feel like I honestly felt like out of the four topics, Pokemon was the one we would spend the most time on. So that's good. I guess my final kind of question is, where does Pokemon Legends Arceus rank with you in your favorite Pokemon games?
Oof.
You don't have
So
to
to be
rank them all, but just a
Oh, yeah, I
general.
couldn't. To be fair, there's a bunch I haven't played. I think after like the first couple of generations, like I started like skipping every other generation. Um, so
I'm
I
same
mean,
way.
one is still my favorite, and that's going to be nostalgia. I think more than anything else. Like I was the 10-year-old when
Hmm.
Pokemon was released, and I was in the middle of Pokemon fever. So, Pokemon Red forever and always will be my number one.
I agree.
Yellow is right up there with it. And I'm not sure saying that's the best game. Like I'm sure it is extremely dated by all modern standards, but what can I say? Nostalgia is a crazy drug. My second's probably Generation 3. That's Ruby Sapphire, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I love that one.
Gen 2 just felt too much like it didn't do enough for me. It was like, okay, that's kind of neat. But Gen 3, I mean, really, I think added a lot to it.
I
I could
think
be
Gen
wrong, but
2, all it
that was,
added was like a day and night cycle, if I remember correctly. It was like the
yeah,
only
I
major
mean,
thing it had.
yeah, 3, I feel like added a lot. I feel like that's when breeding came in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um,
3
I don't
also
know, it's
had the
just,
judging thing. That was so much fun to do.
yeah. There's just a lot in that game. And I'll be honest, I mean, as I haven't played a lot of the games. I've all the DS ones I missed. I still haven't played Black and White. I mean, I've tried a few times, but I get like 5 hours in, I just drop off.
I feel like me and you have played probably almost all the same Pokemon games.
Yeah. I think the problem is like just about every game I've played since 3 doesn't feel like it really adds enough to make it feel like that much better than even just Gen 3. I mean, so graphically they're maybe a little better. There's a few more features, but the core of the game up to that is just like the same.
I think I've heard Black and White has like a really good story, but that's about
why I'm
it.
trying to get into it. Yeah, I don't know, but the gameplay is the same. So nothing about that really hooked me. And then Sword and Shield really kind of took me off. I think at that point I was just like, yeah, they're never changing this game.
I mentioned that in my stream. Sword and Shield for me was like
that was a low point. For me,
I mean, the low point for me was Sun and Moon, but
yeah, I didn't play Sun and Moon.
Sun and Moon.
But anyways. This would probably rank third. Gen 1, Gen 2, and then this. This is probably the first game that's felt different since then. I don't know if you watched. Do you watch Donkey at all? Video game Donkey?
Yeah, I watched his Arceus review, actually. It was like 4 minutes long.
I thought it was really funny, but so fair that he's like, yeah, Arceus is their second game.
It basically is, yeah.
It kind of
That's so funny you bring that up.
Even like Ruby Sapphire, I mean, at its core, it's still the same stuff. I mean, it's added some features, but the game is still the same game. Arceus is the first time they've done something like really different, and I don't know. I want to see this continue forward. All the other games just kind of fall underneath this somewhere in some kind of mixed bag. But yeah, 1, 3, and Arceus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I were to, I mean, mine would almost be exactly the same. I mean, part of me definitely wants to say Gen 1 is my favorite, but I think in terms of, it's me making an argument, but like, I think Gen 3 is probably a better overall game than the original, but 1, for nostalgia purposes, I'll have it at 1. 1 is 1. But
that's fair.
I think Ruby and Sapphire, if you were to compare what you can do in the game, all of the elements for it, I think it's a much better game, probably. But yeah,
I don't disagree with that.
I would say 1, then 3, and then I would get into the argument of whether 2 or Arceus. Or actually, I'm forgetting. I would put Colosseum at 3. I don't know why I'm forgetting. And I also forgot Pokemon Snap. You know how much I love Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, I mean, if you're bringing to the side ones, that changes. I thought we were sticking to this kind of, main line.
But is this a main... Oh, I guess this is...
This is technically a mainline game.
Okay,
it's officially mainline.
So we'll keep Pokemon Snap out, but I mean, I would say this closely resembles something like Colosseum or Gale of Darkness. I would think maybe...
I disagree with that.
Really?
Well, think about the core of those games. Like, they were... I mean, they had some... They were more narrative-focused, I suppose, in battling, but... very little capturing and stuff. Like, I haven't played them in forever, but wasn't that way you could capture them? I know Gale of Darkness, you had to like cleanse the Pokemon.
It was all about cleansing
in a battle,
and you could only capture certain Pokemon that were evil or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't really like that. Colosseum, I vaguely remember, but it was kind of the same like style of game in a way.
What about Pokemon Go? That's probably not a.
I enjoyed Go for what it was. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Go. Like, I mean, it revolutionized the world for, 3 months?
Yeah, for 3 weeks.
It's still going, man.
But
still play it.
But yeah, for me, I guess, excluding all those other games, I would say, for mainline Pokemon games, then I would say 1, then 3. It would be tough, though, again, between 2 and then Arceus. Maybe I'll throw Arceus in there. 2 is too similar to 1. So I would say 1... 3 Arceus and then 2. I feel like our lists are pretty similar. Now, I'm sure most people probably feel that way, although...
It's going to come down to nostalgia, I think, for just about everybody.
And then maybe like X and Y would come in right after Arceus. I really liked X and Y.
I liked it fine, but it's in the same boat. Like, it didn't feel all that amazing compared to even advancements from Ruby Sapphire. Like... I think it just depends. What game did you start out playing Pokemon with? I know for a lot of people, Diamond and Pearl is their favorite. And, I mean, from what I know about the games and if the correlation to Arceus is anything to go by, like, they seem like pretty solid titles. But, I don't know. From pretty much Gen 1 through like I don't even know what gym we're at. The core of the games have been so much the same for so long that just the fact that Arceus is so different really just gives it a step up. Now maybe I'll feel differently in a few years if it doesn't, I don't know, age so well with some different advancements, but I like it for what it is for sure.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, I think that'll wrap up our thoughts on Pokemon Legends Arceus.
I
Overall,
want to talk a few more hours on it.
no, I gotta end it. But yeah, I mean, it's if you guys haven't been able to tell, I mean, I very much enjoyed the game, and it sounds like Phoenix really enjoyed the game. I mean, overall, this is the direction I hope future Pokemon games go in. I don't know anything about the story if they're going to continue to try and keep in the before times, before dinosaur or before Pokemon, time frame. But yeah, all right. So I guess we'll stick on the Nintendo train, and we will move on to we'll move on to recently on 2/9 with Nintendo's recent Nintendo Direct, which I felt like was pretty entertaining. I felt like it might be kind of fun. I mean, we won't spend too much time on this topic, but I feel like it might be kind of fun for us just to kind of go through and, mention any big titles that we might be kind of excited for, something that maybe anything I might plan on covering on the channel. But so Phoenix, I mean, here's my list. Is there anything really here that stuck out for you?
There's a couple of things. Just my general feel on the Direct. It was fine. There's very little I think that really just like spoke to me as earth-shattering news or anything. I'm sure a lot of people can probably agree with it, but there's some solid remasters in there. It's good to hear some information about like Splatoon 3 and stuff like that. I mean, I guess probably the big thing that I know people are, I guess, not up in arms about, but that there was some controversy is how they're handling Mario Kart, because everybody wanted Mario Kart 9, and instead we're just getting more Mario Kart 8 DLC. How do you feel about that? I know you're like huge into Mario Kart, but I know you played it.
I mean, you kind of you kind of summed it up pretty well when I brought it up to you and some other friends. But I mean, for people that would want a Mario Kart 9, it's like, sure, you might want a new game, but like, how much are you really going to be expecting to get? You're going to get a new game that probably is going to play similarly to Mario Kart 8, and it's going to have maybe a third of the levels that the current game probably has, and then this new game is going to, or this older game Mario Kart 8 is going to be adding 48 levels, I think it was, from classic games. I feel like people that are huge fans of Mario Kart should be excited. I would actually be excited if I had the game. I would be excited for this. Now, again, I should have had the numbers, but I don't know the price point that these.
It wasn't real expensive. I want to say, and I could be wrong,
$20, $30
bucks. DLC pack is like $25.
That's not bad.
Which, for as many courses as you're getting, and it's part of the expansion pass thing. Not that I'm advocating for that just yet, but it's starting to add some value to it, which is nice. But yeah, no, I mean, I already mentioned to you a while back, but right now I can't think of anything Mario Kart 9 could really give you that's going to be that much better than Mario Kart 8. And I could be wrong. I'm not developing the game. Maybe Miyamoto is down there with some crazy magic doing some stuff. I don't know. But 8 is so solid and has so much to it already with the roster and everything they've already added to it. Just keep it going. People just want more courses, and that's exactly what they're getting. So I think that's honestly the best thing for everybody. People don't have to buy.
You were so angry, last generation about having to.
Okay.
About
I was mad about that, and I still am. So, this is the part I've been butthurt about for the past like 5 years. So
I'll let you go off, King.
Wow. Well, Mario Kart 8, was a Wii U title, and I played it like crazy on the Wii U. Me and like 3 other people in the world who had a Wii U played that game a lot. And then, the Switch version comes out. I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. But the Wii U was still at the time being supported. I'm like, okay, release the battle mode for the Wii U. Give me that DLC. I'd pay $10-$20 for it. I don't care. But no, they wouldn't do it. I'm like, I'm not giving them no more money. So I was dying on that hill for a while. But then I found Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at the pawn shop for like $10. And now I don't care anymore.
Well, there you go.
But no, I think that was a good decision overall. I think Miyamoto said it, and I don't think it was in terms of like Mario Kart 8. It was, what game was it? Maybe it was a Star Fox or something, but basically he said, no, it was F-Zero. He's like, the reason we haven't put out a new F-Zero is like, there's nothing else that we can think to do that's going to be better for it. So why would
Mm-hmm.
we put out a new game? And I know that probably makes some fans mad because they of course want a new entry in their franchise. But seriously, like, why tarnish the game or the franchise putting out a new
Uh-oh.
game just to put it out?
Yeah.
Miyamoto said this, I believe, about F-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
They like, why would we put out a new F-Zero game if there's nothing else we can really do to improve upon it? And I think that's honestly a really good stance. I know that a lot of fans are probably, upset about that because they want to, have a new entry in their favorite franchise. But why tarnish a game just releasing a new entry just because? I mean, we kind of saw that happen with Star Fox. I mean, I guess they had something they thought they could innovate on it, but I don't know. Honestly, I think it didn't add anything with was it Star Fox? Was it Zero? Was that what they added? And I
Was
feel like
that
that
the was
didn't.
that the weird Wii U game?
Yeah. And that's an example of seeing what Miyamoto thought was going to be an interesting idea, just kind of belly flop. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd be afraid to see what he decided to do for Mario Kart 9. Maybe you have to play with, I don't know, the Joy-Cons tied to your ear or something. I don't know. So I'd rather just enjoy the game for what it is. Let Mario Kart 8 go on as long as it needs to be, as long as, it's solid and they're putting out content for it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, again, I feel like people who are diehard. I feel like the people that are probably angry about this are people that probably aren't playing Mario Kart very much, and the people that are probably playing the heck out of the game are probably like, "Cool, I've been playing Mario Kart 8 like every day, anyways."
Here's the thing, because you probably watch Spawn Wave every once in a while, but they go over the what's the NPD numbers of the sales and whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
like it almost never fails. Mario Kart is like almost the top or the
Oh,
top like
it's
three
GTA
or four
5.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and like GTA 5. That's always sells, and a Call of Duty every once in a while, and
Mm-hmm.
that's even now after however many years of that game being out on the platform. So there's still people who are just buying the game who are going to enjoy this new content. It's sold like 40 million copies, so they're going to make a killing with just that DLC, and I think plenty of
Mm-hmm.
people are going to get enjoyment out of it. So I'm cool with that.
I agree. I totally agree. Let's see. I'm gonna see what. I mean, something that for me personally, I'm not even quite sure why, but there was a game that was announced called Live Alive, which
Yeah.
I kind of like certain JRPGs. I don't play too much of them as much as I should. I mean, maybe I should start doing some more streams on those, seeing as how much
Is
I
that a
do like
true
them.
JRPG?
I'm not even
Or
quite sure what kind of game that I think it's a form of RPG.
I mean, I don't know a lot about it. I know it's an old, Japanese game
It's a
from the
Japanese
90s.
title. Yep.
Yeah, they're finally pulling over, but it's like
It
you
looks
go through
cool.
different like what is it, like ages or generations or something. Like the gameplay changes each time. Like I thought it looked pretty cool. I'm not like jumping to play it anytime soon, but I'm definitely intrigued.
I'll play some B-roll while we're.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it looks pretty interesting. I mean, I like kind of the weird little animation that it has going. I mean,
And the style seems to change like depending on which portion of the game you're in, which I thought was kind of cool.
it's very like. I think from what I remember seeing, it's like time related. Like you're going through different time frames.
Yeah.
Like you're in a western. From what I can tell, you go into like Japan, and then you're in present day, and then it's
Yeah, it's not
future.
always a JRPG though either. Like you've got times where, like it's a fighting game it looks like and a
Mm-hmm.
platformer, so it's cool. I mean, I don't know when I'm gonna get around to actually playing it, but I am intrigued at the very least to check it out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. This isn't what I know much about. I mean, I know this is one of those games that like, people that love Japanese games are like, whoa. But
Yeah.
yeah, again, that's one that I thought looked really cool. I don't know. Anything else you thought stuck out to you?
How'd you feel about Mario Strikers?
I've never played a Mario Strikers game. I mean, I feel like I.
Played them with friends back in the day. They're always fun. Most of those Mario sports games, rarely are they not fun. This one looked good. It looked, colorful and had some cool like modes and features to it. Like I like what was it? You have like a special skill and can like knock out half the team by shooting it into the goal or something. So
I feel like people though were like, I think that was the biggest announcement that kind of resonated with people, and people acted so shocked about it. And for me, it was like, dude, they just recently released a tennis and a golf game, like,
but they haven't put out a Strikers
in
in
like
a
10
while.
years. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to say was it Wii?
might be
Is that the
15
last
years.
one?
Yeah, we. To me, it was not unexpected. I mean, I don't know. It looks fun though.
But yeah, it looks good. I think it looks good. I'm interested with the Chrono Cross remaster. I haven't played all the way through Chrono Cross. It's like on my
It's originally a PS1 game, right?
Shame. Yeah, the pseudo sequel, spiritual sequel to Chrono Trigger, which I love Chrono Trigger. So
okay.
this would be a chance maybe I'll actually sit down and play the whole thing.
Wish I had a copy
because it's a remaster, not a remake. So that means it should be pretty, hopefully, akin to the original. I'm hoping they don't jack up the art style too much. They just, make it look pretty, make it run better, and then I'd be down for giving it a go.
Yeah, another one. I mean, I didn't need to see any more, but I'm kind of excited for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, especially knowing I get to. Yeah, they're calling him Carby.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, call him
That's
Carby.
The guy who modded him into Mario Kart. That was pretty great.
Yeah, it looks pretty funny. I think it looks fun. I mean, looks very much in the vein of, I guess, Mario Odyssey.
But say like Kirby Odyssey, which I've never been a huge Kirby fan. Like I've enjoyed them well enough, but I don't know. I could be down for some Kirby Odyssey. We'll see.
And that transitions really well to you having to replay all the Kingdom Hearts games now.
Oh, I just saw, was it on Kotaku? I don't remember, but people were talking about how bad it is.
I'm sure.
I know I've seen plenty of videos on YouTube of people showing off the lag and all the desync issues and stuff, and it's, who thought that was a good idea? Like cloud game, here's the thing, I am, for the most part, a proponent for cloud gaming. I definitely think one day that's going to be it, but let's be real, it's not it yet. And I think on something like the Switch, especially if you're out on mobile with bad spotty Wi-Fi, like that's just a bad way, I think, to sell that game, especially for a community that's so die-hard. Like people want to play Kingdom Hearts and play it well. They don't want to play a crappy little port that's gonna, have lag and be in subpar experience. And I know other people have said this, but 1 and 2 and probably most of the spin-offs could have run natively on the Switch. It is a PS2 game, for goodness sake.
Yeah. The
like
Switch can run Doom. It's like what?
Yeah, the Switch is powerful enough that this clearly feels like they were cutting some corners to save some costs to kind of make a quick buck. Man, I could be wrong, but that's what it feels like to me. Even if they left out 3, and honestly, let's be real, for those who have played it, 3 is not the best game in that series by any means. So just even if it was the 1 and 2 collection, that would have been a better way to go about this, but they didn't. So they're going to be reeling from that for a while. Their audience is not happy.
Actually, another right underneath this one, something that I think is really cool is I actually don't know anything about Klonoa, but me and you are video game collectors, and most people out there that are video game collectors know this is a ridiculously expensive game. So
wasn't it like $400?
Yeah, 1 is like $100, I think, and 2 is a couple hundred. I know at least.
I have. Oh, which one?
I think 2 is the more expensive one. I'm pretty sure.
Ooh, I'm gonna check real quick because I know I've got one of them. I've got Klonoa 2. It's not the most expensive.
Is it the first one?
Well, hold on. I'm looking at 2. So 2 is $65 loose, $91 complete. Klonoa 1, I'm pretty sure, is the pricier one. Let me find it.
Oh, I thought it was the opposite. I'm a professional game collector.
Oh, yeah. It is $239 loose, and you have $483 complete now. So almost $500.
Oh, so yeah. Well, like I said...
And there's the Wii version that's like $90, but Klonoa is pricey.
Like I said, guys, that's a really cool thing for them to release because, again, it's really hard to get a hold of that game. And any other way, I know it's also a port, and it's, Nintendo is weird with their ports, but it is still a great thing, I agree, for them to release that.
That's one of the things I like about this Direct, even though a lot of the games I'm not, dying to play.
A lot of ports.
They are pulling a lot of remasters, which I like. I mean, a lot of people don't like rebuying a game, but the way the gaming market, especially like collectible
it's a good
market
game.
has gone up. Okay. Yeah, the market's like really boxed people out of being able to enjoy good games. Like Klonoa, it's a $500 game. Who's going to go out and buy that? Nobody. But if you can get it here for, $60 or less, that's a great thing. So I am glad to see them doing that. I wish they'd do more stuff like that. May not with like the PlayStation stuff so much, but expand their like N64 offerings on their service. Get some of those expensive games on there. That way people have a way to play like Sculptor's Cut or, things like that. They just clearly can't get a hold of feasibly. So, I don't know. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. again, another cool thing. I love Portal. I mean, if I were to go out and buy this, I would almost definitely play through the games again. Some of mine and your favorite games, I would say Portal 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love Portal. I don't know if I'll buy that one physical or not. I've already got Portal.
Oh, it's more of a collective piece. Yeah, we've got it on Steam and.
Well, I would probably actually get it digital because I actually want to play it again. I think it's a good game to have on the Switch, like for some quick little puzzle action. So I might grab that as a digital copy since I've already got physicals for 360 or whatever I have it for now.
And maybe if you guys get on Phoenix there, maybe we'll do another me and him stream of us playing Portal 2. I'm sure that
on the tall, lanky robot.
I'm sure that's not going to be incredibly annoying to see me just standing off to the side in Phoenix, pointing out how to solve each of the puzzles.
I can probably solo all the co-op puzzles at this point, so I don't need you.
I'm sure.
I'll leave your stubby little robot on the ground.
I'm sure. Another, maybe the second largest announcement from this was the Nintendo Switch Sports, which for me is
make them a crap load of money.
To me, it doesn't make sense unless they're gonna bundle it up with another new console bundle. Like I don't think
they need to do that. I mean, don't get me wrong, they'd be nice, but here's the thing: the Switch sells without any console bundle just fine as it is. This just gives people another game that they're gonna buy, and let's be real. I mean, people remember Wii Sports, like that's what sold the Wii. So this is what's gonna get the grandmas back into gaming again, because it's been. What, 15 years?
Grammys don't need to be playing.
They may not need to, but they're going to throw out their
no, they will.
Wii bowling. I guess in this case, Switch bowling. So I think it's kind of a genius move. It wasn't even on my radar at all, but who doesn't love a few rounds of Wii? I keep saying Wii. Switch Sports tennis.
I don't understand why that wasn't like. I find it hard to believe that game was in development for long. You're telling me that couldn't have been something they put out with the Switch release? That would have been an incredible tie-in. It'd be like
They had 1-2 Switch, the best opener to any console generation.
Nonsense. I gave you money just so I could come over to your house and friggin' play the game. There was what was the really uncomfortable? Was it Bear game or whatever it was? Oh no, it was Were you a monk? A chimpanzee? What were you?
Oh yes, the romantic monkey thing.
Romantic chimpanzee.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah.
But look at my eyes. Look at my eyes.
No, but I did say it's not a full price game. It's like what, $40 or something. So I mean, I honestly think it's probably a $20 game. But then again, I don't know what went into the development. So yeah, good for Nintendo. They're gonna buy a few more yachts.
And kind of similar to the Klonoa idea is another thing. Like the Earthbound. They're getting the two games are coming back as a port as well. Same thing. Earthbound's like $150 game, and I don't know how much the older one is. I think Earthbound Beginnings was that an NES game? I know the SNES one is the one people love, right?
Yeah,
because that's Mother 2 and Mother 1 is this one.
Yeah, once again, pile of shame for me. I've only started Earthbound, never finished it. But for what I played and what I know about it, it's a pretty unique RPG. I did think it was cool. You saw they gave away the digital version of the strategy guide for free.
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah, like if you go to the Earthbound page on Nintendo's website or whatever, there's a link to actually download the old school Nintendo 64, or I guess Super Nintendo player guide for it in digital format. Completely free.
From what I understand, that's the only way to play that game. Apparently that game is so confusing and obtuse. Yeah, it's I don't know. So yeah, again, Earthbound is really cool. I mean, as a port, they're expensive games, so it's really cool. I don't know. My favorite kind of more recent video was if you guys haven't seen AVGN's video of him finally experiencing Earthbound. It's pretty great. Go watch that. I really enjoyed that video. And I guess we talked about Mario Kart, so I don't know. We can kind of round this one out, but I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was interesting. I'm surprised they ended the show on that. I mean,
That's a big title for a lot of people, and I mean, looking across what they had on offer, I guess that's kind of the biggest title. I mean, they didn't have any news
obviously
about Breath of the Wild 2
that's obviously what everyone wants more on.
When do you think that's going to be an announcement? Like either that, or I know some people are thinking Odyssey 2. I think that's a little further off. But when do you think they're going to actually talk about Breath of the Wild 2?
I don't even know if that game comes out this year. To be honest, I know it's slated to come out. I think it's holiday this year.
Is it still this year supposed to come out?
I thought it was like November, December. I mean, it could take.
It could. I mean, it's been long enough. And I will say this: Nintendo is definitely one of those companies who will be like, "Hey, here's our game. It'll be out in 2 months."
Just says initial release date 2022. So this year, which it's going to be the end of the year. I mean, we don't know anything about the game yet.
So we're thinking like E3 time, even though there's no E3. We'll probably hear some kind of direct around that time, maybe during Summer Games Fest or something. Maybe they'll finally drop something.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Xenoblade Chronicles for me is just kind of I would have preferred maybe Breath of the Wild. I mean, I know people are still waiting on. I know Bayonetta, right? Bayonetta 3.
Oh yeah,
still
Bayonetta 3.
They could have showed. I think a lot of people are guessing that game's still going to get pushed back too. Shoot, what else? What else could they have shown more of? I mean, maybe what was it? What's the XCOM Mario-like game?
The Mario Rabbids.
They showed a lot though in their initial showing of that game. I don't know what more they could have shown to entice people about that game.
I think that's coming. I don't think anybody's too worried about it. I think people are probably pretty confident about it because the first one, was received really well. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, I think that was kind of our overall thoughts from the Nintendo Direct. Overall, for me at first, it was kind of a downer. Like, I wasn't that impressed. But after kind of sitting on this showing, like Phoenix said, I feel like the ports were definitely the most exciting things to come out of it, just to see just how much is getting remastered. For the most part, these are ports of like either really good games, or they're ports of really expensive games that are really hard to get a hold of. And yeah, while it may still be kind of annoying that Nintendo's policies with ports and how hardcore they go after
fan-made projects and like remasters, like people do their own HD remaster of Mario 64 kind of stuff. Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that makes that feel a little bit better. They're at least giving you the option of being able to play something like Klonoa.
They want to capitalize on their own IP, which is fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah. So, but yeah, once again, that's our thoughts on the Nintendo Direct. Moving on. Yeah. So moving on to something I'm sure you're really excited to talk about, Phoenix. One of my favorite things is the Lord of the Rings, and I kind of wanted to just touch on Amazon. Kind of covering the Lord of the Rings with the Rings of Power series. I'll do a little opening I presented for you guys to kind of explain what the show is about if you don't know.
It is about Daenerys trying to take over the kingdoms and.
Yep. Yes, exactly. No, that's exactly what I don't want. That's exactly what I don't want with my Lord of the Rings is for it to be Game of Thrones-ified, but. Yeah, basically it's an upcoming TV series on September 2nd that's produced by Amazon that takes place in the world created by J.R.R. Tolkien. It takes place thousands of years before the events of the Lord of the Rings in Middle-earth's Second Age, in a time before the creation of the Rings of Power, when Middle-earth felt it was in a period of peace. Centered in the show is the fan-favorite Galadriel, the Lady of the Wood, whoop whoop, and a new character created for the show, a man by the name of Halbrand. Boo, I don't know you. Nope, no Sauron or the downfall of Numenor here. Nothing to see here, folks. Just good old peace and prosperity on Middle-earth. I don't know. That's kind of an opening I kind of set up for did myself for the show. If you don't know, I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I actually liked the Hobbit movies, didn't love them. They had problems, but I don't know, kind of, it really makes me appreciate seeing the Hobbit as opposed to comparing it to something like the sequel trilogy with Star Wars. I don't know. I feel like he handled that a little bit better. But yeah, so I guess just overall, Phoenix, what are your kind of what's your approach to the Lord of the Rings and all the Middle Earth stuff? What if anything do you like from that world?
Oh, I mean, I like Lord of the Rings as much as the next guy. I mean, I enjoy the movies. I've read uh I think the first book. I definitely read Fellowship. I don't think I ever finished Two
I
Towers, and
finished
I
Two
know I got a lot more
Towers. I
than.
never read the third one. I read
I
them when I in
don't.
like middle school too, so I was young.
Yeah, it's been well over a decade since I've done it.
Never
I
read The
enjoy
Hobbit
them.
or The Silmarillion. I gotta say.
They're not my favorite by certain standards. I personally like the Fellowship of the Ring. I really liked. If we're talking about the movies,
All time
um,
classic.
did not love Two Towers nearly as much.
That's
I
my
liked Return of the King better.
that's my favorite is the Two Towers.
That's fair. I mean, I don't think any of them were bad movies. I feel like that was the one that kind of lulled for me the most. But that's just my opinion. I did not love the Hobbit movies. I think I liked them even less after I, read up more about it. Like they basically stretched one book into three movies and added all this
Basically.
extra stuff that didn't need to be there. Which that will kind of be, I think, part of where we're going to talk to about adjusting source material. But
I would actually say to anyone who's curious about the Hobbits, other than reading the books, I know it's not a popular thing, but I actually recently watched the 1977, I think, animated
the
movie
animated, yeah,
with
that one's pretty good.
Rankin Bass. It's quite ridiculous, but I actually really enjoyed it. It's super quick and it it does summarize everything that happens very quickly. But maybe it only feels quick because Peter Jackson made him into freaking three movies.
Hmm.
But I guess yeah, just a few quick things. I mean, I know Phoenix isn't quite as he's not quite as digs deep on Lord of the Rings quite as much as me. It's possibly my favorite movie trilogy of all time between the three. I like it more than Star Wars. I like it more than Harry Potter's. Make fun of me if you want, but yeah, I love those movies. Just a quick a couple of notes to put on here. Once again, no Peter Jackson involved, which is scary for someone like me. I loved Peter Jackson's the three movies. I love The Hobbits. Well, I liked The Hobbits, so I'm I don't know. Yeah, once again, not crazy about Peter not being involved, but what can you do with Daddy Bezos? He'll do what he'll do. What he'll do. If you don't know, the Amazon purchased the IP for $250 million from the Tolkien estate for it was back in 2017. So they essentially all they purchased was the Lord of the Rings TV rights. Funny enough, the actual video game rights for the Lord of the Rings right now is actually kind of up for sale and up for grabs. That's another interesting topic. I won't delve too deep into that, seeing as how nothing's come up of it. It's just available for purchase. The weird thing
I think
is,
that's pretty interesting, honestly. Like, I don't know if you've thought about this, but Microsoft's been going on a spending spree
mhm,
lately. I would not be surprised if they made an offer for the Lord of the Rings license because they're wanting IPs right now. So,
well, the interesting thing about the Lord of the Rings video game licenses is there, there have been games that have come out. Like it's not like there haven't been Lord of the Rings games made by other developers. Like you got the Shadow of Mordor, that series. You've got like all these other games that are like
weren't they all published by, were they EA? Is that
probably
correct?
published by EA. Yeah,
Yes, they probably had some kind of license or publishing contract to produce them.
it's almost like with Star Wars now, where how like all of a sudden the last year or so, I think Star Wars, the game license for the Star Wars games is now kind of open where they can let anybody develop a game. It's not just tied to I
Hmm.
think it's EA as
Yeah.
well with that.
Honestly, I think that's a pretty valuable IP to have. Like, I haven't played all of them, but I've actually played a good amount of the Lord of the Rings games, and most of them have been pretty solid. Like, even if you go back to like the old school like movie games, Two Towers, Return of the King, those are classics for a lot of people. And then you had, was it Shadow of Mordor games? You had War of the North. They've put a lot of, I think, solid Lord of the Rings based games out there. Not all of them have been, hits, but I think they'd be an IP that if someone snatched up, they could definitely make a good profit off of
Because
it.
there's even that Gollum game that comes out like this year or next year. And that's like a big
Oh,
title.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's an actual Lord of the Rings game where you just play as Gollum, which I don't know what you do other than grab fish out
Chase a
of
ring.
water and smash their skulls against rocks. I don't know.
You just follow Frodo and Sam and watch them hang out all night.
Make out while they're.
whoa! I'm gonna go there.
You know how many fan fictions there are of
I don't even know. I don't know.
All right, we won't.
I barely even read the first book. Don't make me read it.
We won't delve deep into that. But yeah. So I mean, I guess just another few tidbits. Like I said, we won't spend much time on this. Is more of a ChazmaN thing. But yeah, as of right now, I think it's being dubbed the most expensive TV series ever made, which I guess that's no shock coming from the Bezos party. But wow, I said party. That makes him sound like that probably isn't. That's probably very futuristic.
He's his
own political party.
Now. It's only a matter of time.
That's gonna happen.
You're gonna have the leftist, the rightist, and
the Bezos. But his wife will have her own party because she got so much money off of him. His ex-wife, I should say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, apparently, with this season and future seasons, they are slated to have spent, along with purchasing the IP, they're slated to have spent over $1 billion on creating this one TV show. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy, in my opinion.
Man.
Yeah. Something worrisome. I'll just mention a couple things for me. Showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McCain. This is their first IMDb credit. Why? Why on my favorite, one of my favorite IPs, do you give someone, you spend over $1 billion and the people you put in charge of it have their first IMDb credit? Shocking. That's crazy. You know what I mean?
Really? I mean, I haven't looked at this, so I'm just kind of going off what you're saying.
They have no current IMDb. This is their first IMDb credits. They're like...
Are they directing? Is that where?
Yeah, they're showrunners.
They don't have any
writers. I haven't looked too deep into it, but as far as I know, these two college buddies. That's worrisome, man. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been surprised before, but typically for something that big, you're right. You want someone who has a proven track record of.
But someone with a proven track record is gonna want to do things certain ways, and I'm hoping they didn't get yes men
control over it. Yeah,
that's worrisome.
I mean, it honestly wouldn't surprise me. I mean, looking at it from a high level, I mean, I'm sure you'll get into this. I don't know. I see red flags kind of pop up across the board with this particular entry.
No.
I don't know how you feel.
I agree, man. It just it looks to me it's crazy how expensive and how, because it looks cheap if you saw that trailer. Like,
I don't know if I think it looked cheap.
The CGI there's too much CGI. Like
I'd have to look at somebody. Honestly, I mean, that's not what stood out to me. I mean, maybe I wasn't looking at that too much. Some of the effects I thought actually looked pretty solid, but maybe that's just me not, paying close enough attention to it.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess just once again, I'll just rattle off a couple things. I already mentioned being worried about it being something closer to Game of Thrones, which better not be. Just everyone needs that Game of Thrones TV show that they have planned that needs to get thrown out. Like the way Game of Thrones ended, just we won't get it. Maybe we'll do another video on that. But
don't make me jazz.
But yeah, like there's just I don't know. No Peter Jackson. New people and put in charge. It's just I don't know. For me, it's very worrisome, and it's something I most definitely hope is done justice. But we will see. I guess I'll rattle off a question I had for you. Do you care how close or how far Amazon gets from Tolkien's source material, which is, for me, someone who's a huge fan of Tolkien's material? I mean, I'm not as... I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Okay, so, I'm a bit of both minds about this, but... so here's from my understanding. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because I, once again, am not the biggest Lord of the Rings buff. But this is all happening, once again, prior to any of the, the creation of the rings, all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of in a empty period, right? Where there's not a whole lot of, really stories written. Am I correct on that? Or is this based upon pre-written literature?
This series where it takes place?
Well, like this, whatever storyline they're going with. I don't know if they released like much about the plot.
Yes.
But
Oh yeah.
is it
This
all
plot.
unique?
This plot is all like predetermined. This is all on stuff that he wrote. Tolkien
Oh,
wrote.
okay. See, I didn't know that. I
Oh
thought this was
no.
more off the cuff.
Yeah, the whole fall of Numenor and the whole
Okay.
rise of Sauron and all this stuff. This is
Well,
all
that shifts
Similarian
my
based
opinion
stuff.
a little bit. Oh, okay, similar. Okay, I didn't know that. So once again, I'm sorry about it. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings guy.
No, the whole similar
Um,
because this technically takes place in the Second Age, which I believe the Similarian covers ages 1 and 2. Again, guys, I'm a huge fan, but I'm not like the most follower. Like I wish I was, but I'm not the. I don't follow the book quite as much as I wish I did. But I believe this covers ages 1 and 2, and then the end of age 2 leads into the oh shoot. I want to say the end of age 2 leads into the creation of the rings. Or does the end? No,
I don't think it
I
matters
can't
too much
remember.
for our
Yeah.
conversation.
For you probably don't care. But yeah, at least what goes on in this show is covered in the books, by
Okay.
far.
So I guess that Matt changes my thoughts a little bit about it. So here's kind of my take when you do any kind of adaptation. You're adapting one of two things. You're either adapting the world to fit your needs, or you're adapting a story. And I feel like sometimes when you're just adapting a story, you can get by with a lot more changes because a story, it has to be changed to fit, different audiences, different, maybe genres or locations. I think you can get away with a lot of changes. But when you're adapting a world, especially something as like rich and specific as what Tolkien's done, you can't get away with that as much because part of what makes Lord of the Rings is that world. When you start tweaking things and moving things around and changing out characters, you don't have the same world, and that's what people fell in love with these pieces of literature. I mean, yes, there's a story to it and there's characters, but Lord of the Rings is more than that. It is the world around everything, and that's where you could argue about even stuff like Star Wars and all these other huge IPs. There's a world built into it. What people take issue with is when you start trying to adapt that world and the world doesn't feel right anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Galadriel? Is that how you say her name?
Galadriel, yes, Galadriel.
Her. Was she really like a warrior elf kind of chick, or is that something they're adding?
No, she was a warrior. She took a part. She played a part in a lot of the battles.
Okay.
Same thing with Elrond. I mean, well, you see Elrond battling in the first movie, but yeah, Elrond and his brother and all those a lot of those. All of them are warriors. They're elder. They're like very elderly in the movies. That's why they don't do as much.
So I might be speaking out of place then for this because I don't know the books and the characters well enough to really make, I think, an accurate judgment about it. But I don't know. I guess that's what I would worry about.
I don't have a problem with them taking some liberties with some things, and I know that's weird coming from, a diehard Lord of the Rings fan. I think the problem you get into is when you, like, liberties can be taken, but if you don't do something well, then you're going to get torn apart. And you could say that for anything.
You make change in service of an agenda. And I think that's what most people are concerned about is so many TV shows nowadays, when they're put out, there's a clear agenda or message trying to be portrayed for whatever that message may be. And the show suffers because they're trying to push that agenda. And I think that's just what I fear about this. And the fact that you were saying that these showrunners don't have any credits to their name and now we're worried about yes men worries me even more. If these guys aren't coming into this with some vision they have of how to interpret these works on their own that is a creative direction, it makes me worry that, okay, it's going to be these guys who are just adept enough to actually make the show happen, and they're just going to be taking cues off higher ups who are trying to, once again, push an agenda, do whatever. And that's concerning to me. Now, as I said, I'm going to reserve my judgment until I see the show.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, yeah.
And I do think people sometimes criticize too early based upon a casting choice or a decision they've made. And I am very much somebody who, I think I've grown more this way over time. I'm less concerned about having to be one-to-one exact with source material. I feel like I don't know. If you overly criticize something to that point, you have a hard time enjoying anything. I like kind of going into things just enjoying it for what it is, letting it be. If it's not, perfect by any means, I kind of let this roll off the shoulder a little bit, right? If it's something that ends up being really good, that's great. But if not, I'm not going to get overly concerned or upset about it. So
I agree.
I don't know.
I'm getting older, go figure. Everyone's getting older, but
No.
but I'm very much set in my ways and set in my thinking of like I'm very open to the new things, but I'm kind of at the point where I don't get disappointed anymore if I see something I don't like because I always have that old thing that made me happy. Like if this show bombs and it sucks, I've got no problems not watching it, and I will spend the rest of my days watching Two Towers. You know what I mean?
Like I don't like the argument that
it ruined your childhood.
Flops, ruins the original work. Like, probably the best example in recent memory is Cowboy Bebop, right? We can probably agree we didn't love that adaptation, but I don't think that by any means tarnishes the original work.
To stop watching it, go watch the original.
Yeah. And you can say that about anything, Star Wars, or I don't know, Lord of the Rings in this case. You can enjoy what you enjoy about it. If you don't, you move on. It's not a huge loss.
I think that's my whole way with Dragon Ball and Super and everything, where it's like I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. If you don't know on my channel, I have lots of videos talking about Dragon Ball, but Super's just something I haven't gotten into, and it's like there's no problem with that. Like I'm happy some people can enjoy it. I wasn't particularly in it, but hey, I'll go back and watch Z and Dragon Ball. Like, it's no problem. But I guess to kind of round out, I'll just switch over to this article to show you something very worrying for me. And that is this quote right here when they were talking about diversification, I guess, within the show and the world. Which, again, diversification isn't to me, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. I don't know. It's a very slippery slope where it's like, what does Tolkien's characters look like? I don't know. But I guess my whole thing is just this quote right here where it says, who was this? I don't remember. It's someone here who takes place within the show. But this is a Vanity Fair article, and it just the quote is, "It felt only natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like."
And they're talking about what our world looks like, not
what our world looks like, which to me, that's one of the most troubling things to see out of the show. It's troubling because, again,
it sounds like it's diversification for the sake of diversification. It's not something that Tolkien's world is going to benefit from necessarily. I don't know. As I said, I am not against diversification. I think my issue here, and what I said, you could argue against this, but when Tolkien wrote this, he was writing for his world at the time, right? The way his kind of environmental factors were at the time, what the world was like to him, and he was also writing this story with a very specific focus and vision on who the characters were. Like, the elves were tall, slendered, fair-skinned people. Like, that is explicitly
in his movies and in his stories, there already is a sense of racism. There already is a sense of tension between these races. There's years and years of wars and battles and stereotypes, and it's like, in the end of the Lord of the Rings, like, the whole thing between Gimli and Legolas is like, it's like people coming together. I'm just saying he got across messages of unity, messages of we're never going to win these wars separate. We must, coming together. I mean, I just think if the colors were, I think a lot of the, at least the elves, I think in the books it says a lot of them were fair-skinned, which, I'm not sure, but to me it's a reflection of what, like you said, Tolkien saw, like he and in his world, like, and to be honest, most people who knew Tolkien and a lot of people who understand the man, apparently he was a really nice and really good dude. He was like, a lot of the books and stuff that he wrote were very like anti-war, obviously. I mean, because I think he was in World War II, and it's like there's very good there's very messages of like anti-war. Actually, the largest thing he was against was like he was very pro environmentalism. Like that's why a lot of within Lord of the Rings, that's why the world looks so crappy, is because of like deforestation and war kind of attributing to this ugliness that surrounds Middle Earth, you know? And it's just like I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's a very tricky.
Come across with the wrong message here by any means. I think what's concerning about it is just it seems like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, if the actors do a good job and the rest of the source material is respected, then that's great. I'm not going to have any issue with it whatsoever. But the fact that I feel like they're making these changes just because, like, I don't know what the rationale was for maybe doing some of these casting choices. And maybe I'm hoping it's just because these were the best people for these positions. They, killed the audition.
Oh, most definitely. Oh, I agree. Like, ultimately,
I don't know, the way they made that statement is concerning. That they want to change Tolkien's work to reflect our world. Here's the thing: when I watch any media like that, I don't usually want to see our world. I do it as an escape to enjoy some other fictional world.
It's dubbed a fantasy epic. The Lord of the Rings is a fantasy epic. It's a fantasy world.
Every piece of media needs to be a commentary on the state of our world. Like, there is a place for that for sure, but we already have that interjecting so many different forms of our media, whether it be our games or our TV shows or what have you. Sometimes I just want to go watch a movie and just enjoy the movie. So,
and again, within Tolkien's world, like he was very like, he actually hates the idea of man, like not hates the idea, but like that's why the men with the 9 rings, that's why they end up becoming the Nazgul, because they're easily corruptible. Man is corruptible. It's like man is more easily corruptible. They're flawed. It's like he himself was a person of like he really didn't like normal people. But yeah, guys, ultimately I'm absolutely open to giving the show a chance. I really do hope it's well, and I hope all of the showrunners and all of the actors that take place into it really go in with as much heart and love for Tolkien's world as someone like me or other diehard, Middle-earth fans are. Like, Tolkien created, like, he didn't just create a fantasy epic or a fantasy world. A lot of people consider he created the fantasy world. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he created an awesome world, and I, for one, am super excited for it. And yeah, so any last words on the Lord of the Rings? Anything?
No, I think we've already said. I am going to be cautiously optimistic about it. I'll try to give it the best chance possibly can, because I of course want it to be good. As I said, I don't by any means dislike Lord of the Rings. It's maybe not my top tier franchise, but I am not going to turn down opportunity to spend some more time in the world, because I do think Lord of the Rings, great world building, some great characters. So I'd say cautiously optimistic that things will turn out well for it.
It's very concerning and also interesting, just the overall discourse around this show. Twitter is a barn fire, man. There's so many people with negative Nancy opinions on things, and it's like, ultimately my whole thing is I hope it's good. If it's good,
I'm all for criticism where criticism's due, and I'm not saying that there aren't red flags maybe for certain things, but there's so little about this show out right now. Like, I feel like anything we say, we're just going to dig a hole, or fight a battle on a molehill that isn't really necessary right now, right? We need to go ahead and just let this play out. Let's see some real trailers.
Absolutely.
And just see where they're taking things.
Yep. I'm not disappointed with the dwarven women not having beards at all. I'm open to.
I wish I could have a beard.
There's a lot of people mad that the dwarven women don't have beards, and
is that a thing?
Oh yeah, beards? And Gimli and
Oh, that's right.
Gimli in the Two Towers,
Okay.
or no, Gimli in the first one or Two Towers says something about how sometimes
One.
even normal folk can't tell a dwarven woman from a man because of their facial hair.
Yeah.
He's like in a drunken stupor while saying that too.
I am kind of sad I don't get to see that now, to be honest, because I think that would be kind of.
I cannot believe they dropped beards. Because you've never seen a dwarven woman's in any of the Tolkien or in any of the Peter Jackson movies, because there basically are none. Or I mean let's be honest, the dwarven race in those shows, like, I think the dwarven race as a whole is very minute.
Yeah,
there's just not many of them around anymore, and I think
they got to do a lot with the Hobbit. So
yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
but yeah, once again, guys, very excited. We'll see if we could do a video on it. I'm very. I think this style of video. I mean, I don't know about you, Phoenix, but this style of video could be fun down the line of maybe just choosing a specific topic and just going all in for 20, 30 minutes on a movie, or maybe for my next topic, the movie of Dr.Strange, and I forgot the name of it already. Forgive me.
Multiverse of Madness.
So, maybe in the future we could take things like this movie or something and maybe just have a sit-down talk about what we thought, maybe like a 15, 20 minutes. That might be kind of fun. But yeah, so yeah, let's move on to that. That's our final topic for this stream, or for this video, for ChazmaN, my first video for this. But yeah, what do you think? What did you take away from that trailer?
Well, I've been excited about this movie for a while. I know I am more. Oh, what's a good way to say this? I'm more positive about Marvel movies in general than I know you are. You definitely take more critiques about certain things on them. But I tell you, I like Marvel for what it is.
I would say burnt out is more. I'm not I don't hate it. It's just, yeah, it's definitely burned. But go ahead. Sorry.
It's an overwhelming franchise. I think my thing is, even when the movies aren't good, they're almost never straight up bad.
No, absolutely not.
Almost all of them are fun in some way.
Unless it's Thor 2.
Yeah, man, I haven't watched that in forever, but don't have fond memories. But
yeah.
In general, I really appreciate how Marvel sets up their movies. Even though I know people, have a lot of Marvel fatigue right now, the fact that they have done what they've done with this franchise, and we can have now these really comic booky movies. You couldn't have this 15 years ago, where you got Doctor Strange meeting up with Scarlet Witch and possibly seeing, spoiler alert, Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, well, it's not Picard.
I know.
It's going to be Professor Xavier. He's going to be Xavier.
It'll be even better if he's Jean-Luc Picard, I'm just saying. Yeah. But anyways, the fact that we can actually have this in a movie now, and it's not a weird thing, I think is awesome. So kudos to Marvel for that, if nothing else. But no, I think it looks really good. Question, have you watched any of the Marvel Disney Plus series?
I knew you were going to ask. No, I haven't seen anything on Disney Plus.
And I feel I know that's where some people are going to be turned off to this to a certain extent. I don't know how much this movie is going to specifically require knowledge from those, but it's definitely one of those things. If you've watched those...
Doesn't this require more knowledge of Spider-Man? Because doesn't the ramifications of what...
The premise... I think it does. That's the plot, right? Because of what happened at the end of, was it...
Doctor Strange is essentially being punished in a way for... Yeah. He gets pulled in by the Galaxy Police
the Doctor Strange stuff. Oh my goodness, Doctor Strange stuff. The Scarlet Witch stuff, that's directly following up from WandaVision.
Oh, that's right,
and then you saw the evil Doctor Strange, right?
I did,
that from the What If series, which...
Nega Strange.
A lot of people didn't like the What If series, but... and there were definitely high and low marks on it, but the Doctor Strange arc in that, where basically is an evil sorcerer supreme, is really cool, and that's definitely what this is kind of leaning on. So it's one of those things that I know people are going to be upset that you almost, I don't say have to watch those shows, but you're definitely going to benefit more from watching those shows. But I don't know, I liked the shows for the most part. They weren't perfect, but I enjoyed
switch to some B-roll of
WandaVision went.
Actually, I got the trailer up. Yeah, we can kind of... But yeah, keep going, sorry.
I was saying, I liked where WandaVision went and how that's going to tie into this, how she's now kind of potentially a pseudo-villain in this world. That makes a lot of sense, because the stuff she did in WandaVision was not exactly altruistic, without spoiling too much if you care.
I I was pretty excited, but you want to see what made me crazy excited for this movie? Let me find it real quick. Where's that? Boom. Directed by Sam Raimi, who made Evil Dead 1 and 2 and Army of Darkness, and then
Spider-Man,
Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and Spider-Man's 1, 2, and 3, and he also did I can't remember that other horror movie that I really like. I'll forget about that. But Sam Raimi, I think you agree, he's, you know, one of my favorite directors. So immediately seeing Sam Raimi on there alone for me was like, I'm sold. I gotta watch this.
Yeah.
You know,
Sam Raimi's great because everything he has a very unique style and vision.
He does camp.
I'm hoping,
he does camp very good.
And I'm really curious how well that camp is going to bleed over into the Marvel movies, because Marvel movies usually aren't campy. They try really hard to be cool.
What the heck is this thing? It's like a Minotaur?
Something. It's probably from, one of the other multiverses. But I am curious how Sam Raimi's camp is going to bleed over.
Oh, you can see him in the background right there. Funny.
Oh, yeah. All green. He's a shiny. But yeah, no, I think that's cool. Like, this is checking off a lot of boxes, and I liked the first Doctor Strange.
I just thought it was okay.
I think here, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I am much more open now to like adaptations.
Is that Ultron?
And stuff than it used to be.
That looks like Ultron bots.
Something could be. It's hard to say yet. But what was I saying?
Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's okay. I think here's the thing. Like, I never had a huge amount of knowledge like from the comics about Doctor Strange. So going into this, I was never like, oh, they changed the Ancient One, or they did this, they did that. Like, I was just open to whatever they did, as long as I thought it played well. And I thought the first movie did pretty well in that regard. So I'm open to just kind of have them go crazy with this movie. Like, I don't have any predisposition for lore or anything like that. Just I want to see some weirdness happen in this.
This is another. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This is another cool thing I saw.
Oh, Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman's doing the music, or hopefully he does a good job. He's been kind of iffy as of late, but in the past he's awesome.
But the fact that they might be, spoiler for everybody who hasn't watched the trailer, but sneaking in some old school X-Men back into this franchise, kind of merging them back in or giving them an avenue.
I heard there's a possible cameo of a certain Deadpool somewhere in here.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yes, apparently someone zoomed in on like a shard of glass.
Used the right frame. Yeah.
I doubt he's probably in the movie for long. That probably literally is just hey, here's Deadpool, because that's Deadpool. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But
no, this movie looks like a lot of fun. Like, I have high hopes for it. Yeah, I don't have anything really bad to say going into this. I could, of course, be disappointed. Maybe it will fall flat, or I don't know. I just don't know. I'm trying to think of something that I am negatively kind of looking to with this. This movie,
just want to see here. I just want to see Sam Raimi get. There's something here that this looks freaking awesome. Like, it looks like one of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead freaking monsters. Yeah. Hey, Marvel, clapping for you. You got Sam Raimi. That's like one of the few things you could do to like get me to be like super amped for anything, is to get my boy.
I guess the potential negative, because it's not really, I think, portrayed very well here in this movie, or this trailer, I should say. And it's an issue that Marvel's had in the past. Is the main bad guy gonna be all that good or entertaining? Like, is it this dude? I
think that is Dr. Strange. I think that's Nega Strange.
No, it looks. It's hard for me to tell. Maybe
it looks like a black cloak. Looks like his cloak.
Oh, maybe. The face looks a little off to me, but in general, like, are they going that route? Is it going to be Evil Strange as the bad guy? Is it going to be Scarlet Witch? Is it going to be something different? There's also potential like King the Conqueror kind of stuff they could pull from. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's where it could fall flat if the antagonist is not great. And, with the multiverse stuff, they're just pulling in so many different potential things that balancing it out cleanly is always a tricky deal. But I don't know. Mm-hmm. It looks fun to me.
Yeah, there's not really much more to say for me. I'm excited. I don't know what's happening in any of these scenes, which, again, reacting to trailers is so very tricky. It's like,
Well, Marvel likes to lie with their trailers too, so it's not like you're getting the full picture regardless.
Jurassic Park.
No shit. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, once that was our final topic basically. I mean, I'm super excited. I thought the trailer looked pretty cool, and I know Phoenix is he's a bit more a Marvel fanboy than I am. I mean, I like some of the stuff. I think for me again, it's more burnout. Like I feel like if they came out less frequently, I would be more excited for these kind of things. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. And then I haven't seen some of the recent movies, to be honest. So I mean, I mentioned a few minutes ago they're not all bad, but at the same time, I have not seen Eternals, which I've heard a lot of middling things about it. I have not seen Black Widow, same thing. I haven't even seen, was it Shang-Chi? But I thought a lot of people liked that.
I'll watch all that stuff at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's all like on Disney Plus now, so I need to sit down and watch it. I mostly watch TV shows, which I've liked the TV shows. I don't know. I like that kind of slow form storytelling anyway. Like movies, you know, are big and action packed, but like if they don't cram everything in that hour and a half, 2 hours, it can fall flat pretty quick. Shows you get to kind of flesh it out, which is nice. So I liked WandaVision. I liked What If. Loki was okay. Hawkeye might be the only one I don't finish, to be honest. It's been a little less interesting, but yeah, it's Hawkeye.
Cool. Well, man, that was my first little video podcast that we've done for ChazmaN. So I just want to say thanks for joining, Phoenix. I look forward to doing many more with you. So yeah, I guess Phoenix, just want to say anything else about yourself? What do you got going on?
Well, if I still have any energy left, I'm gonna go shiny hunting and Pokemon. But other than that,
sounds like a good time to me.
The only other game I have my Horizon hint is Horizon.
Oh yeah.
I probably won't get to play it for about a month though. I've got some busy life stuff.
Phoenix is a very, very busy guy. So same thing with me. With having the whole YouTube channel and working full time in, it's like
It's hard.
It really is hard finding the time, but it's worth it getting to talk to the lovelies and putting some content out for peeps. So
yeah, no, this is fun. I enjoyed chatting. 2 hours might have been a little long, so maybe we'll find a way to streamline it for your Chazzy Coons out there in the future. But no, it's good. I enjoyed it.
It's still fun. I don't know. It's a little longer than, but you said midnight, so we're fine, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining. If you guys wanted to, send in any questions, if you have any topics you guys thought you think you would like us to cover or anything, feel free to let me know down in the comments, or go to any. I guess down below I'll put some more of my social medias. Feel free to or have a dialogue with me and Phoenix. I'll show him he's not quite so much social media wise or anything, but anything I see, feel free, and I'll send his way. Yeah, that was it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this first episode. Thank you, Phoenix. Yeah, so I guess I will see you guys on the next one. All right, Phoenix. Night, night, everyone. Bye-bye. Or I guess you probably don't care what time it is. All right, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Love you. Bye-bye.